San Francisco Bay, June 11th, 1962, 3:17 a.m. Three men vanish from the most secure prison in America, Cell Block B. Three dummy heads made of soap and toilet paper lie on pillows. The real men? Gone. Through ventilation shafts, across the roof, down the walls, into the freezing waters of San Francisco Bay. The guards don't discover it until morning. By then, the escapees have a 6-hour head start. Into water so cold it kills most swimmers in 20 minutes. Against currents so violent they've drowned Olympic athletes. The FBI searches for 17 years. They never find the bodies. They never find proof of survival. Just three men who disappeared into the fog and became legend. Welcome to Alcatraz, the Rock, America's supermax before supermaxes existed. The prison designed to break the unbreakable, and the dark story of what happened on an island where mercy went to die. Before we dive into this nightmare, tell me in the comments, if you were trapped on Alcatraz, would you risk the escape? Would you take your chances with the freezing water and sharks? Be honest, because what you're about to discover will make you question everything you thought you knew about punishment, isolation, and the price of being labeled incorrigible. Let's go back. To understand Alcatraz, you need to understand why it exists. The violent, desperate reason. 1920s, Prohibition. America bans alcohol and creates the most lucrative black market in history. Gangsters build empires overnight. Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, George Babyface Nelson, Bonnie and Clyde. Men and women who rob banks with Thompson submachine guns, who kill federal agents, who bribe judges and intimidate juries. Regular prisons can't hold them, not because of the walls, because of corruption. Gangsters run criminal enterprises from inside prison. They make phone calls, receive visitors, bribe guards, order hits, continue operations. The federal government has a problem. How do you punish men who treat prison like a minor inconvenience? How do you isolate criminals who've corrupted every facility they've touched? The answer arrives in 1933. J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI, and Attorney General Homer Cummings have a plan. They need a prison where communication with the outside world is impossible, where corruption can't take root, where the most dangerous federal prisoners can be sent and forgotten. They need an island, and there's one available. Alcatraz Island, San Francisco Bay, 1.25 miles from shore, surrounded by water so cold it averages 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, currents so treacherous that even strong swimmers drown. Sharks patrol the waters. The island already has a military prison built in the 1850s, but it's outdated. The federal government takes control in 1934 and begins renovations. They reinforce the cell blocks with tool-proof steel. They install metal detectors. They add gun towers with overlapping fields of fire. They create the Rock.
Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary opens on August 11th, 1934. It's not designed for rehabilitation. It's designed for punishment, for breaking, for making men wish they'd never been born. The rules are simple and brutal. No newspapers, no radio, no contact with the outside world beyond one censored letter per month and one 15-minute visit every few months through glass with a guard listening. Silence at all times. Inmates aren't allowed to speak except during meals and recreation. Violate this rule? Solitary confinement. Work is mandatory. You either work in the laundry, the match shop, or the furniture factory. Refuse? You go to the hole. And the hole isn't like Eastern State Penitentiary. It's worse, because Alcatraz learned from Eastern State's mistakes. They don't keep you in darkness forever. They break you in cycles. 3 days in the hole, total darkness, no sound, bread and water. Then 1 day out in a regular cell, then back to the hole. This pattern repeats until you break or die. The first inmates arrive in August 1934. They're transferred from other federal prisons, the worst of the worst. Men who've killed guards, who've led prison riots, who've escaped multiple times. Men the system has given up on. Among them, Al Capone, transferred from Atlanta Federal Penitentiary where he'd been running his Chicago outfit from inside. Machine Gun Kelly, bank robber and kidnapper. Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, though he never kept birds there. Murderer who'd killed a guard at Leavenworth. These men arrive expecting to continue their reign. They're wrong. The warden is James A. Johnston, former warden of San Quentin and Folsom, a man who believes in absolute control through absolute isolation. Johnston's philosophy is simple. Alcatraz isn't about reform, it's about punishment, about demonstrating to America's criminals that there is a place worse than death, a place where your name, your reputation, your power means nothing. On the rock, you're just a number. Al Capone arrives expecting special treatment. He's Al Capone, the most famous gangster in America, the man who ruled Chicago. Johnston treats him like everyone else. Number 85, regular cell, no privileges, no phone calls, no visitors beyond the standard allowance. Capone tries to bribe guards. It doesn't work. The guards at Alcatraz are paid 20% more than guards at other federal prisons, carefully vetted, rotated frequently to prevent relationships with inmates, watched by other guards. Capone tries to intimidate. Doesn't work. On Alcatraz, violence against guards results in years added to your sentence and immediate transfer to the hole. Capone serves his time quietly, works in the laundry, keeps his head down. By the time he's released in 1939, he's a broken man. Syphilis eating his brain. The king of Chicago reduced to confused mumblings and incontinence. Alcatraz didn't rehabilitate Al Capone, it just held him until disease destroyed him. But Capone's story isn't the dark heart of Alcatraz. To understand what this place really was, you need to understand D Block, the prison within the prison. D Block is where inmates go for punishment. It has 3 sections: the regular cells, the isolation cells, and the hole. The regular cells in D Block mean you're in segregation, away from general population, but you have light, you can read, you get normal meals. The isolation cells? Different. You're alone. No books, no radio, no human contact beyond a guard sliding food through a slot. You can hear other prisoners, sometimes, through thick walls, but you can't see them, can't talk to them. Violate the silence rule and you go deeper, to the hole. Cells 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Officially called the strip cells. Inmates call them the hole. When you enter, the guards strip you naked. Everything. Clothes, shoes, dignity. They put you in a cell with no light, a hole in the floor for a toilet, a thin mattress they remove each morning. The door is solid steel with a small slot for food. No window, no light. Complete darkness. You get bread, water, and occasionally a vegetable mush. That's it. For 3 days. Then they let you out for 1 day. Give you clothes, a regular meal, a shower. Let you think it's over. Then back in. 3 days, out 1. 3 days in. This cycle continues for weeks, sometimes months. What happens to a man in that darkness? The same thing that happened at Eastern State. Hallucinations, psychosis. Some men scream until their voices give out. Some men claw at the walls until their fingernails tear off. Some men sit in silence, and something inside them just stops. Ruth Percival, bank robber, sent to the hole in 1937 for fighting. 19 days total. 3 days in, out 1, 3 days in. When they release him back to general population, the guards notice he's moving strangely, hobbling. They find out later he's chopped off the fingers of his left hand in the prison workshop. 4 fingers, 1 by 1. When asked why, Percival says, "I couldn't take the hole again. I'd rather lose my hand than go back." He's sent to a psychiatric hospital. He never returns to Alcatraz. Ed Woodkey, murder, 1940, sent to the hole for attempting to escape, 28 days. When they finally release him, he walks calmly to his cell, lies down, and dies. No signs of violence, no obvious illness. The autopsy is inconclusive. The guard's unofficial report says he lost the will to live. The darkest Alcatraz legend involves cell 14D, the worst cell in the whole. According to prisoners and even some guards, 14D was haunted. Inmates who were put there reported a presence, an entity, something that screamed with them in the dark. In 1940, an inmate was put in 14D for attacking a guard. That night, the entire D block heard him screaming. Not angry screaming, terror, pure animal terror. Screaming, "There's someone in here with me. Get me out. It's got glowing eyes. It's killing me." Guards ignored him. Standard procedure. Inmates in the hole always scream. By morning, silence. When the guards opened the cell, they found the inmate dead. Strangulation. Hands around his own throat. The official report called it suicide, but the guards noticed something. Marks on his neck. Handprints, too large to be his own. The coroner said it was impossible to strangle yourself to death. Your body's survival instinct kicks in. You pass out before you die. This man had compressed his windpipe until it collapsed. Medical impossibility. Unless someone else did.
The next morning, during count, the guards noticed something. The inmate count was off. There was one extra man in the line. They counted again. Still one extra. They went through the line, checking numbers against the roster. Every prisoner was accounted for, but there was still one extra body in the line, an inmate they didn't recognize. When they tried to approach him, he vanished, disappeared in front of 3 guards. The story spread through Alcatraz like wildfire. Cell 14D remained in use, but inmates who were put there all reported the same thing. Something in the dark, watching, waiting. Drop a comment. Do you believe in ghosts? In places so filled with suffering that they imprint on reality? Or is it just the mind breaking under pressure? Because at Alcatraz, the line between supernatural horror and psychological torture is razor thin. Let's talk about escape, because that's the Alcatraz legend everyone knows. 36 men tried to escape Alcatraz in 14 separate attempts. 23 were caught, 6 were shot and killed, 2 drowned, 5 vanished and were presumed dead. But 3 might have made it, and their story is the dark heart of Alcatraz mythology. May 2nd, the Battle of Alcatraz. Not an escape attempt, a takeover. 6 inmates overpower guards and take control of a cell block. Their plan? Seize weapons and fight their way off the island. It fails. The guards retreat and lock the cell block from the outside. Marines are called in. For 2 days, Alcatraz becomes a war zone. Machine gun fire, grenades, explosions. The inmates hold out until the Marines gas them. 3 inmates are killed in the fighting. 2 guards are murdered. 14 guards are wounded. The surviving inmates are tried. 3 are sentenced to death in San Quintin's gas chamber. The message is clear. Escape from Alcatraz isn't just impossible, it's suicidal. But men keep trying. 1962. Frank Morris, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin. 3 inmates with high IQs and nothing to lose. They've been planning for months, in secret, using stolen tools, making dummy heads from soap, toilet paper, and real hair from the barbershop, digging through the concrete around the air vents in their cells, slowly, quietly, night after night, using spoons, nail clippers, a drill made from a stolen vacuum motor. The concrete is old, brittle. It crumbles. They hide the holes behind fake vents made from cardboard. They work only at night during music hour when the accordion player in the rec room covers the sound. By June 11th, 1962, they're ready. The holes are big enough to crawl through. They've assembled a raft and life vests from over 50 raincoats stolen from the prison workshop, vulcanized together using steam pipes. They've mapped the guard rotations. They know when the count happens, when the searchlights sweep, when they have the maximum window to move. June 11th, 1962, 10 p.m., lights out. The 3 men place their dummy heads on their pillows. The heads are good, painted to look like skin, hair attached. In the dark, from the guard's flashlight sweep, they look real. The men crawl through the holes, into the utility corridor behind the cells, up to the roof via an air vent shaft, across the roof to the north side, down a drain pipe, over a fence to the northeast shore. They inflate their raft, and they disappear into the San Francisco Bay.
The guards don't notice until morning count, 7 a.m. By then, the men had been gone for 9 hours. The FBI launches a massive manhunt. The Coast Guard searches the bay. Nothing. No bodies. No raft. No debris. A few days later, a paddle washes up. Then a life vest, but no men. The FBI closes the case in 1979. Conclusion? The men drowned. The water was too cold, the currents too strong. They didn't make it. But here's the thing. No bodies ever washed up. In San Francisco Bay, bodies always wash up. The tides bring everything back. Always. Unless the men made it to shore. Unless they survived. The Anglin family receives Christmas cards for years after the escape. Unsigned, but in handwriting that matches John and Clarence's. In 2013, the FBI receives a letter from someone claiming to be John Anglin, saying all 3 men survived, that Frank Morris died in 2008, that Clarence died in 2011, that John is still alive. The FBI investigates. The handwriting matches, but they can't confirm. To this day, the FBI still keeps the case open, just in case. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin are the only Alcatraz escapees who might have survived.
Tell me in the comments, do you think they made it? Do you think 3 men outsmarted the rock and disappeared into history? Or did the bay take them like it took everyone else? Because the legend matters. It matters that people believe escape was possible. It matters that Alcatraz, the impregnable fortress, might have been beaten. But let's talk about the real darkness. The thing Alcatraz doesn't advertise, the psychological destruction. Alcatraz broke men, not through beating, not through starvation, through silence, through isolation, through the slow, grinding pressure of years in a place where hope goes to die. Robert Stroud, the Birdman, spent 43 years in federal prison, 17 of them at Alcatraz, in solitary. He never kept birds at Alcatraz. That was at Leavenworth. At Alcatraz, he was alone, in a cell, for 17 years, reading, writing, going slowly insane. By the time he was transferred to Springfield Medical Center in 1959, he was paranoid, delusional. He spent the last 4 years of his life in a psychiatric ward. Alcatraz didn't rehabilitate Robert Stroud, it destroyed him. James Whitey Bulger, Boston mob boss, before he ran the Winter Hill Gang, he did time at Alcatraz, 1959 to 1962. While there, he volunteered for medical experiments, CIA experiments, Project MK Ultra. They dosed him with LSD for months, trying to study mind control. Bulger later said those experiments broke something in him, made him capable of the violence he'd commit later. 18 murders. Torture, terror. Alcatraz didn't make Whitey Bulger better. It made him worse. March 21st, Alcatraz closes. Not because of escapes, not because of violence, because of cost. It costs $10 per prisoner per day at Alcatraz, $3 per prisoner at other federal prisons. Everything has to be shipped to the island. Fresh water, food, supplies, everything. The buildings are crumbling. Salt air corrodes metal, erodes concrete. Maintenance costs are astronomical. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy orders Alcatraz closed. The last prisoners are transferred. The guards leave. The lights go out. For 10 years, Alcatraz sits empty, abandoned. In 1969, Native American activists occupy the island, claiming it under an 1868 treaty. They stay for 19 months, demanding the land be returned to indigenous people. The government eventually removes them. In 1972, Alcatraz becomes part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, a tourist attraction. Today, over 1.5 million people visit Alcatraz every year. They tour the cell blocks, stand in the cells, take photos, listen to audio tours narrated by former guards and inmates. They walk through D Block, look into the hole, stand where men went insane, and they leave. Walk out into the sunshine, take the ferry back to San Francisco, forget. But the men who lived there don't get to forget. The guards who worked there have nightmares for the rest of their lives. The prisoners who survived Alcatraz carry with them forever, in their sleep,
in their fears, in the way they can't stand small spaces, can't handle silence, can't trust walls. Here's the question that matters. Was Alcatraz justice? These men were criminals, murderers, robbers, men who'd killed federal agents and terrorized communities. They deserved punishment. But did they deserve the whole? Did they deserve years in silence? Did they deserve to be broken so completely that they could never function in society again? Because that's what Alcatraz did. It didn't reduce crime. The men who left Alcatraz either died soon after or spent the rest of their lives in and out of institutions. Alcatraz created broken men and then released them into the world, expecting what? That they'd be better? Robert F. Kennedy closed Alcatraz because he believed the American justice system could do better, that punishment without rehabilitation was pointless cruelty, that breaking men doesn't make society safer. He was right. But here's the dark truth. Alcatraz never really closed. The philosophy behind it, the idea that some criminals are so dangerous they must be isolated completely, still exists. Today, the federal government operates supermax prisons, ADX Florence in Colorado, the modern Alcatraz. Prisoners spend 23 hours a day in their cells, 1 hour of recreation in a concrete yard, alone. No human contact, no rehabilitation programs, just isolation. For years, sometimes decades. Some prisoners have been in ADX Florence for 30 years. The effects? Identical to Alcatraz. Depression, psychosis, hallucinations, self-harm, suicide. We learned nothing. Alcatraz closed in 1963, but the cruelty continues. We just moved it inland, made it less visible, called it something else. So tell me, comment below, share your thoughts. Do supermax prisons have a place in America? Are there criminals so dangerous that complete isolation is justified? Or is it always torture, no matter who we do it to? I want to hear from you, especially if you've been affected by the justice system, if you've served time, if you've had family inside, if you've worked in corrections. Your perspective matters. This isn't just about Alcatraz. This is about the America we're building right now. The one where over 80,000 people are in solitary confinement, in concrete boxes, alone, going slowly insane. And we allow it. We fund it. We vote for politicians who expand it, because it's easier to forget. Alcatraz is a tourist attraction now, a museum. People take selfies in the cells, buy t-shirts in the gift shop, take the ferry back to San Francisco, and forget. But the men who lived there, the men whose minds shattered against those walls, they don't get to forget. Their descendants carry that trauma. Their communities bear those scars. And we're still creating new victims, right now, today, in the name of justice, in the name of safety, in the name of protecting society. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for not looking away. Thank you for confronting the uncomfortable truth. Thank you for thinking about the price we pay for punishment. Subscribe if you want more deep investigations into the dark corners of history, the places we'd rather forget, the stories that make us uncomfortable. Because comfort doesn't change anything. Awareness does. Action does. Refusing to let these horrors continue in the shadows, that's what changes things. See you in the next investigation. And remember, every fortress has its ghosts. Every system of justice has blood on its hands. Every prison becomes a monument to our cruelty. The only question is whether we have the courage to tear them down.